And so you were like, I want to sit next to you. I hear you're like easy going in the air because I need that. Because, you know, and I was like, okay, come on.
I was really excited to sit next to a guy that was comfortable and he was on his iPad, like doing all these things. And he was
good.
Like, oh,
yeah, I got you. I'm good on a plane. And this guy was tired. So he went into the middle row and had to lay down.
I was really tired. I didn't actually lay down, didn't I? Just fall asleep. I fell asleep the second I got on the plane, which is weird for me. I never fall asleep on planes. I fell asleep.
So we go up in the air, get almost to traveling speed, altitude, and we hit this crazy turbulence. Like I've never experienced this kind of turbulence, where literally the beverage cart down the aisle. Misha was in the bathroom, messed him up. And I, the calm one, like, Matt, I got you, was like, oh my God, I'm going down! And I was like, I thought you were okay in the plane! I was like, normally I am! In fact, I'm upset, even though it's serious. Like, I thought this is it, it was like this.
it was like a really big dip. Like, literally, the cart shot down, soda shot out, all these things are happening. I look at Robbie, and I'm just, like, sitting there in the seat, sweating white knuckling the handles, and I'm like, waiting for the ground and the explosion to happen. And I look over and I'm like, you know what I'm going to do before we die? I'm going to look at Robbie so I can feel calm and good about this. And I look at him and he goes, I don't know, man, I don't know. And now my panic has already got my heartbeat at 250 beats a second, jacks it up to about 500. And I'm looking, I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You knew about flying and you were calm and all this. All of a sudden, simultaneously, we both, where's Rich? We look to Rich in the middle aisle, and Rich?
The whole thing, slept through the whole thing. And then the plane even down, everything calmed down, Misha came out of the bathroom, like they were cleaning up the mess. Like, we eating yet or lunch or?
I smell Thai food. And I remember that. I'm like, hey, now
is there Thai food?
He opened his eyes and went, oh, how's the green curry? And Rob and Matt looked at me, because I don't remember any of the previous part of that story, because I was sound asleep. They were literally looking at me, hair askew, and they're like, are you bleeping kidding? You're bleeping kidding, right? You're bleeping around. You're just bleeping, you're bleeping with us because obviously that was an awful experience. I'm like, you lost me. What are you doing? They had to tell me the whole thing, and I thought they were kidding. I thought they were completely making it up. So Misha covered in his own urine. Because Misha told the story that he had peed in the toilet and hadn't hit the flush button yet, and they hit the drop. And so they dropped. And so the toilet dropped, but the pee stayed the same height, so there he was like, phew. And you're like, okay. And the woman was like, hey, my urinal. So he soaked in his own urine. You two are having your first fight, and you're
on the rest of the flight going like, well, I thought you were good at fight.
Yeah,
I hate good at fight.
And that was not good fight. And it was not a joke. Like, Matt's like, yeah, well, thanks a lot, Rob. Wow. That really, whoa. You're no help. Good flyer. Good look in my eye. And Rich, the whole time, Rob and I are bickering back and forth. The Rich thing, the best curry. Yeah. Kudos to the airline. It was really good because I think doing Thai food or a curry on an airplane is a ballsy move, and they really landed it. They did a nice job. A lot of flavor.
So there you have it.
Yeah, there you go. For me.
Yes. How did you find out that you were coming back for an episode? And when you found out, how did you react? How did you feel?
I didn't find out till it aired. I was as surprised as you were. I was watching the show like I do on It's Given Night, and up I popped. I'm like, oh my God! And so I was tweeting, and it was crazy. I was having lunch with Robbie Thompson, who's a writer on the show. But Robbie and I are old friends. We've known each other for great writer. He also was a writer on Jericho, which is a show I did previously. And we've also just known each other since we were in our early 20s, and we were just having lunch, really that had nothing to do with Supernatural, just two friends having lunch. And like right before, so we'd been planning this, and right before that happened, my agent called and said, so, Supernatural's come back around, so he was listing off some stuff that I needed to do. He's like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and we're gonna call it Supernatural. Looks like that's coming back around. And anyway, you gotta do. I'm like, wait, what? What? He's like, yeah, they called to check your availability. Coming back around. I'm like, I'm coming back. I've been dead 4 years. What do you mean? You're kind of blasé about this. This is kind of significant.
I need a little more on the.
Say it again?
I need a little more on the presentation.
Help a brother out. So. That's all I knew, and I had lunch with Robbie, and then I thought, why didn't Robbie mention this? I mean, in theory, that would never happen. He would never tell me, except for the fact that we're buddies. I thought he might have indicated, hey, there's some conversations being had. Because quite frankly, there have been many conversations about all these characters, I know for a fact in the writer's room, coming back, and I'll get the tidbit of like, so there was talk, and the next thing you know, nothing happened. So
Robbie always tells us when there's talk.
Yeah, so maybe he didn't want to dangle that carrot again and have it yanked away, so this time when I sat down for lunch, I'm like, Rob, is there something going on in the office I should know about? He's like, I don't know, did you get a phone call? I'm like, yes, I did. He's like, then yes. He's like, I just didn't want to say anything and have it changed last minute. So I was very surprised. Now, like Rob just commented, we have heard over years that the characters have been discussed, a return for the characters has been discussed by the powers that be. It's been out there for a while. However, after 4 years, you tend to think that ship has sailed. You know what I mean? So you don't really think about it. You say that, but so I was very surprised, and I was really, really pleased with the arc they gave the character for this episode. It was really fun working with Misha. Obviously, he's a friend and a great actor, and that was fun. But it was fun having Gabriel and Castiel work together, because they never really did. There's a couple of moments where I would acknowledge him in scenes, but we never had meat to chew together. It was really fun. He's the only guy I worked with in this episode. It was a big change, and we had a really good time working with each other and figuring out the beats of those scenes. I really, really enjoyed it. Especially, have you guys all seen that episode? So the scene in the store, the car scene is really fun. The car scene and the scene in the convenience store were both really, really fun scenes to do with him, and I really enjoyed putting the outfit back on and doing the bit. Although I'll tell you, it made it super nerve-wracking for me, because I haven't played that character in 4 years, and so as much as there are similarities to me and the character, so I've been told, but it's still a character. It's still something that you sort of invented on, in the process of doing the shows, and sort of go back and to also, because I know you people, and I know you're going to watch it with a very, very, very detailed eye. So a lot of pressure to be like, oh, the voice is right. And Robbie felt the pressure too, because he's bringing the voice back on paper, and he wanted to get it right.
First I thought you meant me.
No, Robbie Thompson. No pressure for you.
That was a lot of pressure, actually. I was worried about you. The whole thing. Always.
I'm turning to you, Robbie, going, I don't know, not your best work. Yeah, so it was great. It was such a thrill to be back up there. I was super nervous. The first scene we shot was me in the car driving with him when I call, I leave a message for Jensen, and that was the first scene we shot when I got back. And I'd seen the crew. I'd seen Brad, the camera guy, and our buddies, and Robin, the prop girl, and our buddies. So I've seen them periodically. When I showed up on set, I was very like, hey everybody, how's it going? Wow, this is going to be neat. Totally nervous. And she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, just, the style, let's get going. Start with this bad boy. Where am I? Where am I going? The car? All right. Yep, pretty good. Let's get going. I guess we'll start the show. They're like, what are you on? Outer space?
First in the first couple lines, we were like, was that how this guy talks?
Oh, I know. It was completely nerve-wracking. But when I watched the finished product, I thought it was really neat and well done. And the fun thing about it was, because it was fun, I live tweeted it with Robbie. We were hanging out, Robbie Thompson. And so we were hanging out in his office doing the East Coast feed. And the thing that he knew would happen was that last beat. When he says, wait a minute, are you alive or are you not alive? And I did the look and I just beer. And he's like, I can't wait to see the conversation begin. And sure enough, it's like, wait, what? Hold on. What does that mean? What does the eyebrow mean? Where's the answer? Like, it's like kind of like Matt taking your shirt off, only not quite as crazy. But for the record, because the question has been put to me this weekend and online, Robbie's complete attention is, and the way they shot it and the way we designed it, is for that answer to be yes. That's not a bad feeling, is it? No, sorry. Yeah, it wouldn't. If I said it, they're like, no. Yeah. And if you think about it, one of the other little bits Robbie put in that I thought was interesting is to sort of say that. Again, it's really up to them how they design the character going forward, but that is the writer's intent for that moment, and Jeremy's intent. But the interesting thing about it is, he said, one of those other little details was, once cast busts me as being fake, being made up, I still snap away the stuff. And you go like, if I were fake, it would just go away. I would just stop doing it and it would just disappear. But I'm still controlling what's happening in the universe, and that was Robbie's sort of argument for the moment. Anyway, so there's the answer to the question. And fingers crossed that the other writers agree with Robbie and present the character and bring these mofos back as well. There you go. Hi.
So you have never worked an episode together, which is, I think we can all agree, a tragedy. But
yes.
If you were to do a project together, what would you want it to be like?
If we did an episode or any kind of project?
Anything.
Single camera comedy. Right? I mean, I feel like I want to do comedy. And Matt always says, and this is funny, like, as Matt's good friend, he always says he doesn't do a lot of comedy. And I think your comic chops are, like, razor sharp. I think he's super, super funny. Am I the only guy? I mean, like... I think it would be really fun for the three of us to do.
Yeah. I always imagined it was some kind of road trip. I don't know why. Sort of leaving filming Loathing in Las Vegas kind of thing.
Leaving Las Vegas?
Meet
Three incredibly drunk guys.
And a prostitute. You're a prostitute.
Obviously.
You roll into town.
I can't afford you.
Yeah, we can't afford you, so we become buddies. That was road trip.
I think Matt is eerily quiet about this answer. I want to hear your answer to this.
I got no problem with it.
No. What would you do?
I would, we would be together.
We're together. I mean, I don't know if it's that kind of show, but I don't know how much we can show. But a comedy where either that or just a half-hour comedy where we're three very distinct personalities.
Yeah.
All together. Boy, what a ruckus. I don't know what it is, whether maybe we're male nurses.
Or perhaps Rich and I are flight attendants.
And I'm a shaky co-pilot.
And you're the terrible passenger who's frightened of everything.
You fly all the time in every episode?
Yeah, I don't know. You're already shooting the idea down. That's a bad attitude to go into this with.
Next time we all work for the airline, you guys are scared. You're flying and you hate flying.
You're the maintenance man.
Okay. I mean, I kind of want to fly the plane, but okay, I'll be the maintenance.
All right, no. Man, let him be the pilot. Come on, man.
I clean the poop. Thank you.
I meant like the maintenance man. And you're like, hey, listen, guys, one wheel fell off. We're going to go without it. We're going to go.
So I'm this guy.
Would you include any TSA agents?
TSA agent.
I'm like, oh, damn it.
It's already there.
Maybe we'll get a cameo, though. Maybe it's a crossover hit. You.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask about your guys' romance.
Romance?
Three-way romance.
Undeniable romance?
As she just pointed out, you guys never really worked together closely on the show.
Never.
So, how did that start? And how did you guys first meet each other?
What's our...
We all like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. And the smell of something or another and the taste of champagne. We all know making love at midnight in the dunes of the Cape. I think we were all the fellas we were looking for, so we wrote to each other and escaped. Does anybody know that song? What is it? The smell of? What did I miss? It's like, smell the ocean? I can smell the ocean. All right, great. Anyway,
to answer your question, how did it all started? Well, it was more of a, we each had a relationship with Richard, right? So there were separate
I brought you guys together.
Yeah, there were two separate romances going on, really for conventions, we never, this is what brought us together.
Yeah, Matt and I got to know each other. Oh, there's no Jack's enormous. Ben, you made that name up. Your package. Remove your package. Grow up back there. So we had we did. Matt and I started the whole thing with the karaoke, which you guys know the story of. That was sort of our way of saving a terrible assignment. We turned it into a fun assignment and made the karaoke party fun. And Rob, honestly, we were just getting paired together at cons because we never acted together.
I want to say the first Rome is kind of where we were really had a great time hanging out.
Oh yeah, that's true. Right? First Rome con.
But so we just started hanging out and we became friends and I don't know. And then they paired us together with one of these things.
What'd you lose?
And it went super well, I guess. And I don't know. We like each other and hanging out.
Matt, do you have this lady's wallet? Sorry to interrupt, but she's missing her wallet. Yeah. Go check his pants. And we had the bunch of 20s in his underwear. And the rest is Hollywood history. Here we are, all BFFs,
Yes.
Right?
Yes, the rest is Hollywood history.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. You guys are adorable.
Thank you.
As are you. All right, you buddy.
Yep, hey, I like that. This one's for Richard.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about the Thrilling Adventure podcast. You've been kind of hanging out with those guys a lot. Are you going to go back again? Maybe bring some
I will do that. I will
friends
do Thrilling Adventure is old-time radio done as a newfangled podcast, essentially. It's this cult show out of Los Angeles where they perform at Comic-Con, and they're doing New York next week, and I did Chicago with them. Guys and girls in suits and ties, some of the brightest comic minds I've ever worked with, super smart, doing it radio drama style. They have the radio comedy style. They have the hips in the hands, a live band. It's truly amazing. I will do that with them whenever possible. Those guys are so... Yeah, Rob got mad at me because I didn't want to share a bed with him.
I have an older brother, but he's like, hey, it was a huge bed.
Okay, we're going to tell the effing bed story. Can you grab me that? Two with one bed because my brother-in-law and cousin-in-law didn't have their wives with them. And one had two beds because there were two dudes staying in it. Rob and Rich. Two. So when we checked in, they gave us the one-bedroom. They're like, and I went in and I said, this has only got one bed. Let's move to the two-bedroom room. And it was like I insulted your family lineage. You're like, why? Can't you share a bed with me? I'm because I never did this. It's not a big deal, Rich. I don't understand why you're making a big deal, Rich. Let's just share a bed. I'm like, okay, or could we just go across the hall and stay in the room with two beds? Because there are two of us, and I don't want to share any bed with you.
My mistake was, the more I argued it, the bigger deal it became. It's still not a big deal, it became a really big deal.
Well, I don't know. I think since here we are a year later and you're still telling the story, that's also the weirdest part of the story. If anything, you still don't get how bad. And meanwhile, my cousin-in-law is standing there going, thinking to himself,
you guys always do this?
Probably silently thinking, this was a mistake. Shouldn't have brought these yahoos to Milan. We slept in the bedroom with two beds, and old Pouty Pants over here made a stink about it the whole time. And like, comfortable in your own bed? Enjoying yourself? How did I say, Rich? Let me bother you over here in my own bed.
So
the weirdest thing, it's like something good happened and you're turning it into something sour. It's like, happy you won the lottery? Enjoy the money. why? He's like, and by the way, thanks for the gold watch. I mean, like, why are you getting it's good. We have two beds. Two grown men who are not dating each other. Need their own beds.
To me, it was like going to the bathroom, we're like, there's one sink. I can't. I don't know how it's over there.
No, you know what it's like? It's like running to the bathroom and there's one urinal and you want to go to the second time.
Anyway, at this point I decided in our two beds, I was like, hey, I wrote this song like you, and played in the demo. And then you didn't say a lot about it. You're like, yeah, good, like it. And so then it came on the album, and then we started to say live, like, hey, this is about Rich. And, you're like, good. That's not true at all! Online the other day, people were saying, hey, how was Rich reacting to the song? I'm like, that's kind of awkward, but actually Rich hasn't reacted to it at all. I actually don't know how you feel about it.
Okay, in fairness, you just told the band yesterday that the song was written about me.
But
so.
It's true. We recorded it without them even knowing.
Yeah, well.
It was a little awkward after I wrote a song about you.
When you say it like that, it is creepy, but...
We've just been in the same bed.
I'm just confused because we share the same toilet sometimes. You know?
Yeah, but look at you, man.
For what it's worth, sometimes I like to pretend that song was written about me.
Next album. It's going to get started.
I'll tell you now, I appreciate you, Rob.
Okay, show of hands. Who saved Rob's life?
Okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So.
He only gets 3 of those per weekend, so it's true. Rich saved my life.
I kind of use it the wrong time, like we're picking lunch. We're like, time to go to India, and I'm like, okay, well, who saved your life?
Yeah.
Because I use it, and I should really save it for real moments.
I'm so thankful for you. I'm so happy to be alive, and yet I will pay for that for the rest of my days.
Many long days and many days.
Yeah.
One more time, please. Who saved your life?
My question.
Matthew, question for you, buddy.
No, it's all 3 of you.
All 3 of us.
I don't know, whoever answers is, what are some, like, funny
Funny stories from the first time we all hung out. Funny stories.
Matt?
We lost Matt. I think he's on. He'll be back in a minute. His mic is
back in a minute?
Matt's leaving.
Okay.
I will tell you this. Rob didn't remember me the first 5 times we met. How many people have heard that story?
Yeah.
You want to hear it again?
Yeah.
But Rob really, I've always been a fan. I've seen him work years before, and I thought he was a really talented guy. I always admired his choices and what he did. And I had gone to a pilot taping where he had been the star of the show. I've seen his movies, and he's a super talented guy. And so I ran into him. This is pre-Supernatural. This is just meeting him in the universe. I ran into him, and I was like, oh man, I love your work. And we didn't know each other. I'm like, I'm Richard. He's like, oh, hey, I'm Rob. I'm like, we were so great in that pilot. Great. Fast forward to somewhere else, I don't know. We run into each other. I'm like, oh hey, we met. And he's like, I don't think we've had the pleasure. I'm like, no, I'm Richard, and yes, I saw you in the pilot. You were Dynamite. He's like, oh, fuck you, Rob. And then
That was new this time. You just made that up.
whatever. The point is, then we both work on Supernatural. Now, obviously, we didn't work on it together, but I was watching that season. And I ran into him. We were trick-or-treating in the same neighborhoods with our family. With our families, and I walked by and I go, oh, there's Rob. I had just seen the Chuck stuff, and he was so great. And I stopped and I'm like, hey, dude, I just saw your episode. You're just fabulous work. And he's like, I don't believe we had the pleasure. I'm Richard. I also work on you. Yes, and you're Rob, I know. So then, flash forward. I'm at the movies with my wife, And we're up at the ArcLight Theater in LA, and it has a bar upstairs. My wife and I are up grabbing a drink. Bar's it's like a lounge, it's not even a bar, and we're over at one table by ourselves. And over at the other table across the room is Rob and his wife. And I go, yeah, Rob and his wife. I think to myself mentally, like, okay. I go to the bar to order a drink, and I order, and the bartender goes, hey, aren't you in Supernatural? I go, yeah, I am. He goes, isn't that guy in Supernatural? I go, yeah, plays Chuck, he is. He's like, oh. Why aren't you two talking to each other? And I'm like, he never remembers me. He never did. He's like, the bartender's like, yeah, welcome to my world. I'm like, I know, right?
You got nothing.
You got nothing.
I do remember you, although I was a fan of your work. I don't remember the meeting so much.
You had no idea I was even in the industry.
I did a commercial audition like 20 years ago.
That's not working. That's waiting to try to get a job. You thought I sat well.
Well, you always get the job. I mean, you did a lot of commercials. I respected that. And then,
he's still panicking. Right now, he can't think of anything I've ever done other than being Name one show. No, you said it.
Jericho.
That's fine. I said that earlier. I know nothing. Now, Matt, we got to bring Matt into this.
I don't want to be part of this.
Funny things that happen.
Over Waters 2.
Or in the Waters 2?
Open water.
You're getting bad answers. Quit Googling my running mate and telling Rob. What funny experience have you had with Rob that didn't involve me? Please God, tell me there's something. No?
We have a really nice time together when we're together.
Oh, so there's no laughs? It's all serious?
We'd have pleasant exchanges.
You make that sound dirty. I think you mean conversation.
Most of the times when we do share a laugh, it's usually a downer story that's something you did to Rob, and I think,
right.
I just gotta laugh about it.
So you build him up and I break him down, and you build him up and I break him down.
I'm a supporter of these people I care about.
I get it. It makes sense. It makes total sense. You and your hug shirt. I get you. I know you're Matt. You're the uplifting one. True.
So the other night, my wife and I went to a movie at that same place and had a drink there, and I took a picture
of your wife and the empty table.
And the empty behind him, and said, "We're thinking of you. We're thinking of the night you and I met."
We're thinking of the night we didn't meet.
Yeah.
All right, I have no idea if that answers your question. But hi.
Hi. My question is actually for all three of you.
All right.
It involves each of your characters. Richard, we know, now that we know that Nate is hopefully, probably not, actually dead, how would you all have liked to see your characters go out, as opposed to, if you didn't like the way that they died, or, or
Matt,
Rob just disappeared.
These two guys are still alive. I mean, we've never seen Chuck die, and we've never seen Michael die.
Chuck is
right?
God.
Or Young John.
Segue from that topic, Entertainment Weekly put out an article yesterday on Bloodline. And there was 5 other spin-offs that apparently the fan base is dying to see. Number 1 being that John Winchester Origins. Me with why I was Googling myself.
There was one called.
Kidding, not kidding.
Was there one called Chuck More Time in the Robe? The sitcom. Chuck takes a bath.
Orders prostitutes.
To the woman's question, how would you like to see? What blades of glory would you want to see Chuck go out in? And what you and Michael?
That's what you how else would you? Oh, since I just think, yeah.
If you would want to see Michael go out, how would you want Michael to go
If there was
out?
a way to,
Or John, other than he sacrificed himself for his sons. If there was maybe something else, like if that had been necessary or crucial to the story, maybe John could have gone out in different blades of glory, or Gabriel in a fiery fashion. I know.
I was gonna say that. I would like to have seen.
Go on. I heard fiery passion.
That's erotic.
Let's spitball in that area. Let's go there.
Well, I mean, you did materialize some very attractive women when you were the trickster. So.
Like icing in the finger.
What?
You do with the clip.
Okay.
You're icing in your finger and you're like. Like I don't know your work. I've studied every move.
You saw that this morning. He just saw that this morning.
No, I saw it way before that. Saw it yesterday. I was just gonna say, if there's a way to be scared to death, I'd like to see Chuck go scared to death.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Young John. Michael.
I would definitely like to go out in some kind of blaze of glory as Michael in the Impala off a cliff. Big explosion.
Is it right to the big ball?
No, because I'm taking that thing with me.
Is that how we go?
What? Wait, what?
Would that be like a Thelma and Louise with Lucifer theme color then?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think mine's pretty obvious. I'd be back in room number 69 dying in the saddle, if you know what I'm saying. You do, lady.
Hi. So there was obviously an article published in the New York Times about what makes Supernatural, and what do you think makes Supernatural, and what it's like about?
What I think makes Supernatural the special show that it is?
Yeah.
Simple. You got it.
it.
That's it. The unwavering support of the fans is what makes it stand out beyond any other show.
That is the one answer I think that the three of us agree on, and it's absolutely.
Yeah, and 20 years ago, I don't think a show like this may not have lasted more than 4 or 5 years, but you guys being online, being able to voice your opinion, and people are listening. Like, it's a shared experience, and that's what's so amazing about it.
I was in the audience in Vegas when you and Van sang Angela for the first time.
Oh, cool.
And it was, a really moving experience. I cried about halfway through it.
Oh.
So I wanted to thank you guys for sharing that with everybody. I'm sure
Thank
everybody
you.
who was there really felt it.
Thank you.
And to the band, Sky Live has been on repeat in my car since I bought it in Vegas. I think it's your all's best album yet. And my question is, what was the last song that you guys heard that you had a strong emotional reaction to?
I got a random one I heard this morning, and I don't know if anybody's going to know it. A band called, you guys might know, the Abbott Brothers?
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the song, but there's a lyric, something like, Brooklyn, take me home.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it was like,
Brooklyn,
I
take
think
me
it might be
in.
called I and Love and You.
That's me.
Or that's the album.
That's the album name.
That's the song name
Anyway,
too.
check out the song. It's really, really good.
Song by a band called Abbott Brothers called Funeral that they just
Oh,
released.
that's so great.
And they just released him playing kind of like solo at like the old Opry or something in Nashville.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Opry.
And it's like him and like one other musician. And you can download it. It's on iTunes. And I downloaded it. I listened. Totally cried. Like it's just it's a really emotional song. Yeah.
The emotional, a song that has given me an emotional experience recently is Today. But it's not the same emotion that Rob and Matt are expressing. It's from the band Rainbow, 1980s hair band. And we got to talking about that band, and I downloaded A Street of Dreams. Yeah, Street of Dreams by Rainbow. And I was having a very emotional, a very rock star emotional.
I've never seen. He was like, no, but listen to this. He's doing air bass.
Yeah, by the way, nailing it. There you go. Thank you. You.
Hey, so I know that Rob wrote a song for you, and I was wondering what Rob, if you wrote a song for Matt, what it would be about, and Rich and Matt, what would you write about Rob?
Great question. I really love that question.
What song would you write about? Right?
Yeah, I write if there's I mean, someone who's like chiseled like a god, that has like to relate to you like a human being. Choose like a god who relates to me like with buddies where he's like a human being.
We can sing that right now, Robert.
Choose like a god who relates to me like a human being.
We're going to do speed round, by the way. We're going to go over to
Wait, what would you write about me?
What would you write? What would you write? I'll tell you what I would write. I think it's been very cool to have, you know, you make a lot of friends with your kids, but you rarely make close friends as an adult. And I've been honored and privileged to have both these gentlemen enter my life and become very close friends of mine. So I would write.
Wow, thanks, Maverick.
Did you write a fart joke?
I would write a love ballad about my two friends, Rich and Rob, and how one of them saved the other's life, and he'll never be able to do it.
We're going to do speed round. We got to go. They want us out of here. We're going to do speed round.
Quick questions, quick answers.
No, ask your question super fast, and we'll answer it super fast. Here we go. Matt, go.
Okay, you're creating a supernatural musical episode. What song would your characters sing?
Under the Sea.
Quick, I would sing back up on Under the Sea.
Something about alcohol.
Alcohol.
Drinking alcohol. There's alcohol. There's Brad Paisley has a song with alcohol.
All right.
If you could put together another activity for the conventions, what would it be?
Another activity for the conventions?
Bowling.
Bowling.
Richard, did you intend to go as dark as you did with Gabriel in Metafiction because of Metatron's terrible writing, or do you really feel that Gabriel is as jaded as he is now?
I feel like it was a tough 4 years and wherever the hell he was. So I think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. You.
You don't have much time for my question, so I'm going to ask something else. What's your favorite color?
Teal.
What's my favorite color? Blue.
Black. Very.
All of you, what is the weirdest thing that's ever happened on set on an episode?
Being able to hit Jared over and over again with that plunger.
Wanting to kiss Jason's mouth and realizing he's not a woman.
Rob, you think Chuck will ever come back and will they explain your white light disappearance? You think so? I think so, yes.
I believe he'll come back. I believe it. And he's gone. And I'll explain why later.
Correct.
Or Richard, if you had to be another character on Supernatural, who would you be?
If I had to be another, I would never replace anybody because all the actors do a phenomenal job, but it would be fun to be Castiel for a day. Weird, nerdy, obsessive quirks. You just gave Rob the title of his autobiography.
So name our next album.
Any weird, nerdy, obsessive quirks. I'm
All of them. Yeah, that's all I am.
I'm the most type A person I've ever met and annoying to try to write or edit with. I'm a pain in the ass. You guys.
Yeah. I'm a nerdy lurby. I mean, that's
for you. Matt?
I'm extremely OCD to the fact where I have to face the cans of soup out and everything label has to be out and organize my cabinet.
Very good.
You know.
Hey, I'm going to read through this song I'm going to sing in the musical of Supernatural. What if they were called? Yeah, no, I can't say this. What if God was one of us?
Always want to be actors because I feel like Rob might have kind of just walked into an audition accidentally and then.
Okay, the question is, did we all want to be actors? Yes.
What?
Did you always want to be an actor?
Yeah, I did.
No, my dad has an essay I wrote when I was in 5th grade, and I wanted to be a veterinary on large cats like lions and doctors, and I wanted to drive monsters.
All right, listen.
What's the status of the sidekick, and are we going to see that in more length?
Yes, The Sidekick is a movie that I made last year. Rich is in it. It's awesome. It's a half an hour long. We just now got distribution, so in like 3 or 4 weeks you'll be able to see it online. Follow me on Twitter, Rob Benedict, and I will let you know when.
All right, go, Matt, quick move.
We have a cancerella that's pretty, and I wanted
Guys nowhere near the room, because I want to be in that hotel room all by my lonesome with the ladies. Robert Welch, I don't share beds. Next.
Favorite supernatural creature?
Favorite supernatural creature? Does Lucifer count?
I want to do Lucifer.
Lucifer. All right, go Lucifer. Here we go. Next question.
My question is for you about Three Blind Saints, and my question is why?
Why? Why three blind saints? My answer to you is simple. Why not? Next question.
Do you actually believe in any supernatural creatures in real life, and if so, what?
No.
Rob.
Next.
Yes, most of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Matt, move quickly.